There's an idea deeply rooted in our culture that a mother's love is the purest love that exists. And for many people, that is absolutely true, but there's something else that we almost never talk about. Let me introduce myself. I'm Natyash here, and in this channel, we'll be talking about mental health, traumas from our childhood, bad relationships, and much more. I hope you subscribe and enjoy the content. For some people, the first trauma didn't come from an enemy. It did not come from a stranger. It came from the person that's supposed to be the safest in the world, their own mother. And talking about this can feel very uncomfortable, but understanding this dynamic can help a lot to understand how we see ourselves and how we relate to others in life. Many people grew up with mothers that were physically present but emotionally unavailable. Others grew up with mothers that were constantly critical. Maybe you heard phrases like, "You're doing it wrong. Why can you be more like?" Sometimes these comments seem small in isolation, but when a child hears them repeatedly during their formative years, they begin to shape something very powerful. They shape the child's identity because when we're children, we don't yet know who we are. We learn who we are through the way the closest people to us treat us. The relationship with our mother is often our first deep emotional relationship. Through this relationship, we learn how love feels like, what safety feels like, and what rejection feels like. If a child experiences warmth, encouragement, and emotional support, the brain begins to associate love with safety. But when love is mixed with criticism, emotional distance, or unpredictability, the brain learns something very different. It learns that love can come with pain. And over time, these experiences create internal beliefs such as, "I'm not good enough. I have to earn love. Something about me must be wrong." And the tricky part is that usually all these beliefs operate unconsciously. People carry them for years without realizing where they started. So these emotional experiences often start happening when you're adult in ways that are not always obvious. For example, many adults who grew up with highly critical or emotional distant mothers struggle with self-esteem. They may constantly question themselves. They may feel like nothing is quite enough. Some develop a deep fear of rejection. Others become people pleasers, always trying to gain approval from others. Sometimes these patterns clearly appear in romantic relationships. A person may find themselves attached to emotionally unavailable partners or difficult to please, not because they want to suffer, but because the brain has learned that this dynamic is familiar, and the human brain sometimes confuses familiarity with safety. Understanding this dynamic doesn't mean turning our parents into villains. Many mothers who behaved in critical and emotional distant ways were themselves raised in environments where emotional support didn't exist. In other words, they often pass on patterns they never learned to recognize. The purpose of exploring these ideas is not to stay stuck in blame. It's to gain awareness, because awareness allows us to begin questioning patterns that once felt inevitable. One of the most powerful things that a person can do is to begin separate their identity from all the ideas that they received growing up. Just because you hear something repeatedly as a child doesn't mean it's objectively true. A child internalizes criticism because they depend on the caregiver to understand the world. But an adult has the ability to step back and examine those beliefs. And trust me, the process reveals something very liberating. Maybe the harsh ideas about ourselves that we carry around are not ours to begin with. Understanding where our emotional wounds come from is not about staying trapped in the past. It's about gaining clarity. Because when you understand the origin of certain patterns in your life, you also gain the ability to change them. And sometimes the first step to healing is simply recognizing this truth. The way someone treated you in your childhood does not define your value as a person. Many of the stories that you were taught to be about yourself are stories that now you have the power to rewrite. This is Natyash here. I hope you enjoyed this video. It came from the heart. Give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Have a good afternoon.